Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Maverick News channel. Hello, Maverick family. We have breaking news tonight. Confidence vote underway right now related to the federal budget in Canada. I'm going to go live to that. And we're also going to get to these bombshell comments today from Donald Trump saying he would be proud to bomb the cartels, the drug cartels inside Mexico, even without permission from the Mexican government. So stay with me. We'll come right back, and we're going to go live to Ottawa first up to bring you up to date on the confidence vote that is pretty tense right now.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
This is actually not live. This is just slightly delayed. We're going to pick up the final vote here. It has just passed.
Okay. The table will now compile the results of the vote.
And this is the way it went down. This is like 60 seconds ago.
Yeas pour 170, 170. Nays contre 168, 163.
I declare the motion carried.
Thank you, sir.
So, very, very close. Came down to a difference of 2, 170 to 168. 168 nay, 170 yay. So, because this is
thank you. This is for you.
An issue of confidence, a vote of confidence, this could have triggered an election today, that close. This is what happens when you have a minority government, and in this volatile time, Liberals still seeking support from opposition parties. And we saw today that the support of Elizabeth May, the Green Party, critical here. And it shows that in a parliamentary democracy like the one we have here in Canada, even small parties can carry a great deal of influence and weight in a minority government situation. So, there's dispute going on here over the speaker's upset because somebody's taking pictures. You're not supposed to do that in there.
Order. All all members on both sides, if they've taken pictures, I'll ask them now to delete those pictures and confirm that with the chair. Order. In accordance with Standing Order 38, a motion to adjourn the House is deemed to have been made and seconded at this time. Therefore, the question is that this House do now adjourn. The honourable member for Elgin, St. Thomas, London South.
Okay. Don't need to stick with this. Let me take a quick break. We're going to come back, sum this up, and then we're going to get into this stuff with Donald Trump because it's very controversial. There's a good word.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
The information war is raging. Truth without integrity is worth nothing. Maverick News. Because those who have power and those who seek it must be held accountable.
The world is watching.
Join our family of truth seekers. Donate today and add your voice to the chorus of Maverick Knights. Donate at maverickdonations.com. Truth. Integrity. It's the Maverick way. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So this was a pivotal moment because this was the final confidence vote, not the final vote on the budget, but it was the final confidence vote on Prime Minister Carney's 2025 federal budget. This was the decisive test of the minority Liberal government support in the House of Commons, as budgets in Canada are automatically matters of confidence. A loss today, just moments ago, would have toppled the government and triggered a snap election. But with the narrow passage, and we saw MPs crossing the floor, the Liberals trying to generate support from opposition parties like Elizabeth May, the Greens. A loss would have toppled the government, as I said. But the Liberals survived. The budget's general policy is now approved. It was the third and last such hurdle after earlier amendments. And this was the final vote on the main budget motion or the final confidence test. So that said, it's not entirely over. Parliamentary procedure means the budget still needs to navigate a few more non-confidence steps to become fully enacted law. These are routine and lower stakes, no automatic government failing risk unless opposition forces a twist, but they involve additional votes. So why the final in the big sense? Because confidence cleared. The vote unlocked the path forward. Without it, everything halts. The NDP's partial abstentions today, key to the slim margin and Green support, brought Carney's stability, averting a Christmas election. Could have been going to the polls over the holidays. So this is an immediate win. It funds the $141.4 billion in new spending for housing accelerators, defense boosts, and the government can now start planning, even if not all of the money has been dispersed yet. So what's next? Procedural votes. The budget now shifts from policy approval to the legislative grind. No more existential threats here, but watch for tweaks. We're looking at key issues of nuance here. The latter votes, and there are latter votes to come. So you've got committee scrutiny. The Finance Committee will review the details. That'll happen in early December. You have the report stage where you'll have a House Debates Committee changes. And then there will be third reading, final House vote on the full budget bill. That probably will take place around February. And then you're going to have Senate review. The upper house will give it what they call sober second thought. And what are the risks of this thing being upended at any stage in this process? Very low at this point. And then finally, so after it goes through third reading and then Senate review for sober second thought, it then goes to royal assent. That's where the Governor General signs it into law, acting on behalf of the king. Not because they make the policies or not because the Governor General created the budget or passes the laws or comes up with the laws. They basically rubber stamp this stuff if it has gone through all of the processes properly. So these latter votes could become confidence matters if conservatives or bloc attach emotion, but that's unlikely after today's survival. The next real tests, supply bills, interim spending in December, or the 2026 throne speech, those are also confidence risks. With MPs in a brief break post-vote action pauses until committees reconvene. If everything goes smoothly, implementation ramps up by spring, and then the money starts to flow. So tonight's vote was something of a climax, I guess, the government's final exam on the budget, if you will. It passed. So if you were hoping for it to pass, you can exhale. If you didn't want it to pass, then I guess you're in for at least a year of frustration. Ottawa's minority path continues to take us down a treacherous political road, I would say, and this whole thing remains suspenseful. It's not easy to govern with a minority government, but some people believe that it is actually better for the country because it results in more compromise. It certainly gives, I would say, a disproportionate amount of power to the smallest of the parties, NDP and the Green Party, because they can then go to the governing power, the Liberals, and say, we want this, and they can get things done that they might otherwise, but they would otherwise, in a majority government situation, not be able to bargain for. So, like I say, a disproportionate amount of power given to somebody like Elizabeth May of the Green Party, who the Liberals needed her. So, I don't know. We saw the Jagmeet Singh and the NDP during the Trudeau Liberal era, the tail kind of wagging the dog there as well. Smaller party, kind of dictating to the party in power, the Liberals at the time. So she passed. And on to the next stage. We'll be looking at this again in the days ahead. Stay with me. When we come back, we're going to start digging into Donald Trump's comments about Mexico rocking the world. Be right back.
Maverick News isn't just a news outlet, it's a community of truth seekers. Your donation at freedomreporters.com fuels our mission to report the stories that mainstream media won't touch. Thank you, Maverick family.
Now, also, Donald Trump today saying that he would be proud to bomb Mexican drug cartels even without permission. We're not going to go straight to that clip. I've just told you what he said, and that's igniting some controversial fires. But here he is. This is also not completely live. I'm backing it up a little bit, but he is speaking right now to the McDonald's Impact Summit. Whatever the heck that is, it's basically a bunch of McDonald's owners, and they get together probably once a year. And I wasn't aware that this thing even happened on a regular basis, but it's the McDonald's Impact Summit, and Trump, the guest speaker. And these comments, I'm backing it up because what he's just said just moments ago at the McDonald's Impact Summit has a direct impact on Mexico and on Canada and on the world and on our perceptions of freaking reality, which is exactly what I was talking about last night on this program.
Facts, it's true. But those in this room know the people of our country better than anybody. And before the sun rises, you're up serving hot coffee to construction workers, nurses, and police officers on the way to the job. In the evening, you stand ready with the fast dinner and a smile for busy moms and their children as they race from school to soccer practice. Really is. It's Americana. And late at night, your lights are often the only ones still glowing when the long-haul trucker pulls up for a good meal and a best Coca-Cola in America. Best Coca-Cola. Whoa. And I'll bet they use real sugar in your Coca-Cola. You know, they didn't in the United States. I said to the head of Coca-Cola, you got to go to sugar. They do in other countries. And you know what? They went to sugar. Isn't that nice? I said, you got to go to sugar. Just like I said, why is the Gulf of Mexico called the Gulf of Mexico? I said, we're changing the name. And now it's the Gulf of America. It has nothing to do with McDonald's, but maybe it does. Because it's very nice cycle. We have 92% of the shoreline. They have 8%. I wouldn't say I made a lot of friends in Mexico, but they still like me. Wasn't that a good change? Seriously, wasn't that beautiful? And it was done in an instant. You know, it's like, normally you think a thing like that would take years. This took like 10 minutes. I asked somebody, good lawyers in my office, I said, would I be able to change the Gulf of Mexico? Is that possible to the Gulf? Sir, it's been that way for 350 years. You know, they were here 100 years before us. We're 250, they were 350. It's been called the Gulf of Mexico, sir, for 350 years. I said, that's not the question. Am I able to change it? Yes. What do I do? Just give us the order and we'll do it. And I did, and we changed it, and everybody's happy. Well, not everybody, but most people. Most people are happy, but it's great prestige for our country. You know, it's tremendous prestige for our country. And that's good for McDonald's, and that's good for everybody else. As president, I want you to know that I'm fighting every day to support small businesses like yours and the citizens that we all serve. And together we're fighting for an economy where everyone can win, from the cashier starting her first job to a franchisee opening his first location to the young family in a drive-through line. I've been on that line many times. Actually, that line was incredible in the commercial, right? It wasn't a commercial, it was about, but they have the line. The people had no idea. So I made the French fries. The guy was really good. He had a great wrist. He was, sir. He was going like, sir. Yeah. It was not that easy, but I got it sort of finally. Not the greatest, but I get it, pouring it in, asking him all sorts of stupid questions, but it was very interesting. Amazing. A little thing is not, it's a little complex, right? To father and son over there that own a lot. They're very rich people. But I'll tell you what, I asked, how many do you have? Sir, I have 59. I said, you're rich. But you know, nobody knew in the line. That line was a long line. They had 25,000 people, so somebody let them know we were coming. It was toward the end of the campaign. And after I did the French fries and did some other things, I then stood at the window. And the people would drive up, a little bored in all fairness. You know, it is, I mean, they're waiting for a hamburger, okay? So they'd drive up like this. They'd look over. Whoa, Every one of them, and it was fascinating. Every one of them, they would. It was the response was incredible. Almost like I knew I was going to win when I saw that. I knew, because the response was love. It was great. They had a good time, but we did, I think, 12 people. Every one of them had the same response. They drive up, they this, they get that, getting a little cash ready, and they look over, and it was, some did a double take, some went like that. Well, but it was sort of an amazing moment. You know, I did a garbage truck also, right? And everybody, and I thought, when I spoke with Sergey and Sundar, I said, yeah, but the garbage truck was equal, wasn't it? They said, not even a garbage truck was great, not even a contest to McDonald's. And that's because we had the power of McDonald's. I mean, it was an amazing thing. I thought frankly, I thought the garbage truck would have won. And they said it was good, but it wasn't even close. So that's a tribute to what you've built, really. It really is a tribute to what you built. But there's still a lot of work to do, and we're making tremendous progress. 1.9 million more American-born workers are employed today than when I took office. Think of that. 1.9 million more today and these are American-born workers. Nobody thought that was possible. And we have the strongest borders in the history of our country. Nobody comes in unless they come in legally. You see the numbers. Everyone thinks it's impossible. A year ago, millions of people were storming our borders. Today, they only come in if they come in legally. And wages for hourly workers are rising at the fastest pace in 60 years. And sometimes you might say, was that good or bad? It's great for you. The minimum wage thing you'll have to be talking about. You're going to have to fight. We were talking about California, Gavin Newsom from California. And I knew he's laying siege on the minimum wage. And you.
Okay, look. So there he is talking about I don't know. Would you hire Donald Trump to work the grill at McDonald's? Maybe the fry station. I wouldn't trust him with the cash at all. No. Rich people live in a different world. The thing about rich people that I learned a long time ago is they often are not capable of doing very much because they hire people to do things for them. They probably couldn't change a flat tire. They very likely couldn't work the grill at McDonald's. And I wouldn't hire Donald Trump to manage a fast food restaurant because of my experience with really, really rich people. They don't really know what the hell they're doing. They just have so much money and they have people who manage things for them. And here he is managing the country. Now, fact checking, yes, it is true that 1.9 million more American-born people are working today than weren't working before he took office the second time. But that being said, overall, job numbers are not looking good. They're actually bleeding on the job front because they have layoffs in some critical areas. Also, these other numbers that he's citing, just absolute straight up falsehoods. He said there that the United States controls or has 92% of the shoreline of the Gulf of Mexico. Not true. They have about 54%. And it's actually bordered by 3 countries: Mexico, Cuba, and the United States. And 54% of the coastline belongs to the USA. So it's not true that they had 92%. This is the thing. This is all about perception management. It's one more step, renaming the Gulf toward integrating. I believe this. he is trying to create a greater America. When he's talking about America, he's talking about everything from Greenland to Panama and beyond, heading south. That's the plan. People say, trust the plan. There's your plan. That's pretty much it. Take as much as you can, hopefully without firing a shot. A big step toward achieving that goal is changing the way people think about things, changing the way they think about the Gulf of Mexico. No, it's Gulf of America. And then he just says it's so. But he's not he's not enjoying the success in perception management outside of the United States that he is enjoying inside the United States, because no other countries have adopted the name Gulf of America. It applies really only to U.S. federal agencies and the Geographic Names Information System, just other things that they have in the United States. It's a being forced upon people by Donald Trump and the administration on the people of the United States, including news agencies. I think it was Associated Press originally refused to call it the Gulf of America, and they got expelled from the press gallery and the White House. Mexico is refusing to adopt the name. President Sheinbaum stated, quote, "will continue to be called the Gulf of Mexico." Straight up. Cuba, no adoption, has not said anything about it. Basically, just ignore him. And the UK, most other nations, I think Canada too, are still just referring to it as the Gulf of Mexico. So I guess he can go around and call it the Gulf of America if he wants to, and he can force people around him, maybe even the whole country of the United States, to call it the Gulf of America if he wants to. But other people are resisting, other countries, as he tries to assert U.S. influence throughout the entire Western Hemisphere, for crying out loud. It's crazy, but maybe not. Maybe it's just the plan. And some people think that's a great idea, but it leads to conflict. As I've said, if you go down this road, where some people will view this as a step toward global peace, you see, I understand the concept where if you have the superpowers, China, Russia, the United States, sort of respecting each other's sphere of dominance, staying out of the other jurisdiction, the other area of the world, limiting their influence and their involvement over there. The United States stays out of Eurasia. Just stay over here and enforce the new version of the Monroe Doctrine. Then you're not at odds with these other countries, and the superpowers might all just get along. But I don't think so, because you are ignoring the fact that you still have major powers, maybe not as powerful, but even countries with nuclear weapons who want to survive as nation states, and they will resist, and it will lead to conflict, and that conflict, I would say, inevitably would lead to war. And you're seeing this kind of tension rise even now, because it is, it's resulting in military escalation in this hemisphere against countries that are already allies of the United States. You don't need to do this. You don't need to push Canada to become the 51st state, because in many respects, we're already heavily integrated into the United States, economically, culturally. But they want more because they want the oil. See, a lot of it is the business interests behind all of this, and it's easy to bring those guys on board when you're offering them an opportunity to make even more and become even more powerful. Well, Canada's in play, Greenland's in play, and certainly Mexico is in play. Venezuela definitely in play. And today, this is what brings us now to Trump's comments of the day. Dominating the news cycle again. He's saying that he supports taking aggressive action against drug cartels and narcotics production in Mexico and Colombia. Now, he stopped just short of announcing any direct U.S. military intervention, but he has intensified his campaign against maritime drug trafficking. He continues to authorize more forceful interdiction operations. The 21st boat blown out of the water, just announced yesterday, or revealed, with another naval snuff film released by Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War. Again, perception management, reframing the way people are looking at the world, at the Trump administration, at the United States, at the entire Western Hemisphere, all of North America, Central America, Latin America. So here he is in the Oval Office, asked whether he backed similar ground strikes in Mexico to what appears to be plans to strike inside Venezuela. And Trump said, it's okay with me, whatever we have to do to stop drugs. Let's pick up the clip from the White House, the Oval Office, where he made these comments today. Ties right into everything I was talking about yesterday, echoing a lot of what I've been talking about for months, maybe at least the past year. Really coming to a head now. Let's listen to his comments. I'd be proud to do it, Trump says, of bombing drug manufacturing facilities in Mexico.
Strikes in Mexico, or putting American troops or American personnel into Mexico to deal with it?
Would I launch strikes in Mexico to stop drugs? It's okay with me. Whatever we have to do to stop drugs. Mexico is, look, I looked at Mexico City over the weekend. There's some big problems over there. If we had to, would we do there what we've done to the waterways? You know, there's almost no drugs coming in through our waterways anymore. Isn't it down like 85%?
It is, sir.
I don't know who the 15% would be.
Yep.
It wouldn't be you.
No, that's for sure.
No, I think it's been...
Tons and tons of
you would
drugs.
say that's a big signal.
Absolutely.
We have almost no drugs coming into our country by the sea, by, the waterways. And you know why, okay? I mean, it's pretty obvious. Would I do that on the land corridors? I would look, every boat we knock out, we save 25,000 American lives. Not to mention the destruction of families. These families are decimated forever. The mother, the father, the children, they never recover really from it. When you lose somebody, like the way they live, if you lose them, but the way they die is horrible.
Is it something
so when we knock out a boat and we save 25,000 lives, that's great. Now, do I feel the same way about the corridors that they use? We know every one of them. We have every one of those corridors under major surveillance. We have nobody coming in through our southern border. But we know exactly how they get their things here, how they get the drugs here. Fentanyl, cocaine. Colombia has cocaine factories where they make cocaine. Would I knock out those factories? I would be proud to do it personally. I didn't say I'm doing it, but I would be proud to do it because we're going to save millions of lives by doing it.
Would you only do it with Mexico's permission, though?
I wouldn't answer that question. I've been speaking to Mexico. They know how I stand. We're losing hundreds of thousands of people to drugs. So now we've stopped the waterways, but we know every route. We know every route. We know the addresses of every drug lord. We know their address. We know their front door. We know everything about every one of them. They're killing our people. That's like a war. Would I do it? I'd be proud to. I'd probably go into Congress and say, hey, and you know what? The Democrats and the Republicans would both agree, unless they're crazy. and they are a little crazy on the Democrat side. But we have lost hundreds of thousands of people a year, death. And that's not talking about family destruction, that's talking about death. And much of it comes through Mexico. So let me just put it this way. I am not happy with Mexico, okay? Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, he's not happy with Mexico. He is, I don't know how unhappy he is. That's the kind of language he uses when he's trying to get something. And he made reference to the riots in Mexico over the weekend and the perception management there was that, the social media influencers and the information warfare campaign directed at Mexico like that, those influencers were saying that the government's on the brink, as you saw from Jim Ferguson, because he's trying to will that into reality, trying to convince people that that is what is happening. That is the key to everything, convincing people that that is the reality, or it is going to be the reality. And in order to get that to become the reality, the first thing they have to do is undermine confidence in the government, to make people believe that the government is no longer viable or that it isn't even a real country. That is the key to what's going on in Canada right now, where they are trying, there's an information warfare campaign ongoing inside Canada where they are trying to convince people that this is not a real country, that it doesn't deserve to exist because it's not really real. And they are playing with people's minds that way. And it's easy to do that in many respects because any country is just a construct. It is just an idea. In order for any country to exist, people have to believe in it. It's not like this cup. Now, yesterday I said you could challenge the reality of this cup. I could say this is a cup, and you could say, no, it's not. It's just a piece of clay. Because in its prior form, that's what it is. And at its root form, that's what it is. It's a piece of clay. You add water, you mold it, and then you fire it, and it becomes a cup. But you can say it's not a cup. This is a country. It's a country because we took the land and the people and we brought it all together with ideas and laws and a constitution written down on a piece of paper or pieces of paper. And we formed a country. This represents the country. People believe it. They say, yes, that's a cup. But if you are capable or able to convince people that your laws aren't real, that your country's just, that your government's just a corporation, it's not, therefore not a valid government, that your laws don't apply to people, that your government is corrupt and that they're all just a bunch of corrupt institutions, organizations, agencies, the police are just puppets of the big elite. You see, this is the whole thing. And as this plays out, that's the key to it all. Not just in Canada, where I think you probably are all aware that you're being subjected to this kind of information. And you can decide for yourself whether you believe that Canada's a real thing, or you can believe in the people who are telling you that it's not a real thing, that it doesn't really exist, that it's all smoke and mirrors, and they played a shell game, and the Constitution is not legitimate, and therefore the country doesn't exist, and we have to break it all up. You can believe in all that, but the same thing is going on in these other countries, including Mexico right now. That's why you have big protests in the streets, which happened on Saturday. The thing is, the government's still standing. The Mexican government's still there, even though this should send up a red flag for you. Even though we had social media influencers, some of them international in scope, trying to push the idea that the government is about to fall. The more people that they get to believe that, the more emboldened other people become, other people down in Mexico wanting to be on the winning side, not on the losing side. They become more emboldened. They go out, they protest more, they put more pressure on the government. This is how it works. And then other people get involved too, other governments, even big companies, and they throw their 2 cents worth in and facilitate or amplify the negative messaging if they are opposed to what the government of Mexico is doing and shine bomb. But they've survived, at least until today. Is the government truly on the brink? Trump just constantly uses this contrary juxtapositioning, where on the one hand, he says, I really like Shine Bomb. And you can go back about a year ago and find many references to Shine Bomb, the Mexican president, made by Trump, saying that he really likes Shine Bomb. Today, he's saying he's not happy with Mexico. He says that he really likes Carney, but we still remain under threat, frankly, from the Trump administration in Canada. He says, and let's go to the Truth Social posts today, and this is on full display today in a very dramatic fashion, where on Truth Social, he's portraying himself as the peace president again. Congratulations, he says here, to the world on the incredible vote of the United Nations Security Council. This is true. Just moments ago, acknowledging and endorsing the Board of Peace, which will be chaired by me and include the most powerful and respected leaders throughout the world. This will go down as one of the biggest approvals in the history of the United Nations, will lead to further peace all over the world, and is a moment of true historic proportion. Thank you to the United Nations and all of the countries on the UN Security Council: China, Russia, France, the United Kingdom, Algeria, Denmark, Greece, Guyana, South Korea, Pakistan, Panama, Sierra Leone, Slovenia, Somalia. Also, thank you to those countries that weren't on this committee, but strongly backed the effort, including Qatar, Egypt, United Arab Emirates, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Turkey, and Jordan. The members of the board and many more exciting announcements will be made in the coming weeks. Scroll down. Oh, the pro-peace admin. And do you believe President Trump will bring world peace? It is time. Defund and shut down the United Nations. Oh, this is contrarian. Congratulations to the world on the incredible vote of the United Nations Security Council. And then down here, got to get rid of the United Nations. Blessed are the peacemakers. So he's the peace president. Blessed are the peacemakers again. And finally, something comes out of the UN that makes sense. The Board of Peace, chaired by the man who successfully brought about peace around the world, President Trump. There is hope for the UN. Oh, so as long as you do what he wants, you can keep it. You can continue to exist. Maybe he'll just rename it the United Board of Trump or whatever. Hey, if he brings peace, cool with me. But how do you reconcile him saying that he's ready to go in and basically launch missiles into Mexico, even without the permission of the Mexican government, which has stood opposed to that? They're saying, no, Sheinbaum has made it dead clear many, many times over that no, they do not want the United States inside Mexico in any military capacity, even to combat drug cartels. It's a hard no. But he doesn't care. Now, she says that they will cooperate on, drug interdiction. They will cooperate, but no military, no U.S. military inside Mexico. She said it repeatedly. He doesn't care. And it's not just Mexico where this is going on. You're seeing it off the coast of Venezuela. You're seeing it with the drug boats being blown out of the water. You're seeing it in Ecuador, in Colombia. We just saw that there is this vote going on in Ecuador where voters are resisting efforts by the U.S. administration, the Trump administration. I should clarify that and qualify it, saying the Trump administration wanting to put U.S. military bases back into Ecuador. This is from DW, and just 21 hours ago, Ecuador's voters have seemingly rejected a proposal to allow the return of foreign military bases with the stated mission of helping the South American nation combat drug cartels. It's an ongoing theme, isn't it? Because it's like all the way from Panama to Canada. The whole justification for everything they're doing comes down to the drugs. This makes me wonder about the validity of the claims at all. Because it's the same argument applied to every country. Oh, you're all sending drugs. You're all sending drugs, including Canada, which we know statistically, empirically, the evidence shows it's not really quite true. Yes, some, not nearly to the degree that Trump says, because he exaggerates and just makes up numbers all the time. He just did it with what he said. I just showed you again, him doing it in real time at the McDonald's Impact Summit. 92% of the coast of the Gulf of America belongs to the United States. No, it's not true. 54%, and it's the Gulf of Mexico. Only he and those around him call it the Gulf of America. In his little mind, in his little world, it's the Gulf of America. But the rest of the world is resisting that alternative reality. Isn't it weird how he's able to, because he has so much power within the Oval Office and within the presidency, he can, using just a Sharpie, put that kind of pressure on the way people actually view the world, the way that we perceive things. He can reshape our actual reality and force people, or can even convince people to accept an alternative reality by renaming it the Gulf. He basically just, with the stroke of a pen, claimed the entire Gulf of Mexico for the United States without firing a shot. All he did, and 350 years of history with the stroke of a Sharpie. Unitary executive power applying not just to the United States, but he's trying to extend his power to the entire world. Now, do you see why some people are accusing him of having some sort of a delusions of grandeur, viewing himself as a king, literally posting pictures of himself as a king? Is he just joking? I think we need to start taking him at his word over these things. Anyway, Ecuador's voters rejecting this proposal, 80% of votes counted. Just over 60% of voters said no to the measure. President Daniel Noboa says, quote, "We respect the will of the Ecuadorian people." In a statement on X after the vote count showed that the referendum was on track to fail. What does Noboa want? Foreign military bases? Noboa has argued that foreign bases banned in 2008 are necessary to tackle surging violence triggered by turf wars and side hustles of drug trafficking gangs. Now, keep in mind that he's very pro-Trump. And the country is struggling to defeat organized crime syndicates on its own. Noboa's government had already held talks with the United States and Brazil about the possibility of those countries stationing troops in Ecuador. Earlier in November, Noboa gave U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem a tour of the Mantra military base along Ecuador's coast. The U.S. military previously maintained a base in Manta from 1999 through 2009. How bad is Ecuador's drug cartel problem? Located between Colombia and Peru, two of the world's largest producers of cocoa, the raw material used to manufacture cocaine is where Ecuador is located. And because of this, Ecuador has long served as a transit corridor in the global narcotic supply chain. This coming from the International Crisis Group in a new analysis of Ecuador's battle with organized crime. In the first half of the year, Ecuador saw 4,619 murders, the highest in recent history, according to the country's organized crime observatory. No question, they have a problem. That problem becomes our problem. But how you deal with the problem is the issue. At least in Ecuador, they're having a vote, and at least Trump's not talking at this point anyway of military intervention inside Ecuador. But that's because Ecuador is giving Trump a lot of what he wants. Let me take a quick break as I queue up a little bit more on this subject. Don't go away.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching.
The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
So you see, Trump's not looking at direct military intervention in Ecuador. They want to put troops there. They want to put military bases there. Could happen still, but the people have spoken, so we'll see if that's respected. The administration there, the president of Ecuador, pro-Trump. So Trump kind of controls what's going on down there. And that's what it comes down to, is these larger powers, they want to assert their influence throughout their region. And if you're not going to directly invade, you control the government that is in place to make sure that they do your bidding. In Ecuador, no problem. In Mexico, less so. He's saying he's not looking for regime change in Mexico, but he's acting sort of otherwise. This is him back in April, referring to Scheinbaum. And if you go to like El Salvador, they're giving Trump a lot of what he wants to, because that's where ICE is sending the detainees, right? So you're not hearing too much saber rattling with regard to El Salvador.
I'm not looking to hurt Mexico, and I like Mexico. And by the way, I think the new president is a terrific person, a fantastic woman. We've had many conversations. She's a very elegant, just a fantastic person.
This is back in April.
And she's been very nice, very, very nice. But I'm not looking to hurt them, but
But this is the thing. He's always creating this juxtaposition, this say one thing, do another. It's just become classic Trump. He keeps you off center, off balance, because what he says is not really what he means. His word isn't worth anything. He lies. He makes stuff up. It's his stock in trade. No wonder businesses are being upended. People can't plan for anything. 1 minute, the whole tariff thing, it's up and down. It's all around. You never know. He says he's the president of peace, and yet he's ready to wage war, even a drug war, the pretext of a drug war, if you will, in Venezuela, saying not this weekend, but the weekend before on 60 Minutes went on and said, when asked, are you planning to invade or send troops into Venezuela? And he said, no, I don't think so, but didn't rule it out. And now we're sitting here and they just continue to escalate. Just continue to ramp it up. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm flabbergasted at the way this is unfolding. I have to confess, and I need to apologize actually, because I never saw it. I was blinded by the Trump mania. Certainly during Trump 1.0. It was different though during the first Trump administration, maybe because he didn't really fully expect to win. And then he got into power and the people around him, some of them were not in lockstep. You had Jeff Sessions as his attorney general. He failed him and left him vulnerable, recused himself. And then Trump had to replace him. It left him vulnerable legally. Lawfare launched against him. So there were all those factors. I wonder if that hadn't happened in Trump 1.0, what we would have experienced if this kind of situation would have unfolded. I sort of doubt it, because in a way, Trump was given a favor by not being given the election, given re-election the first time around, because he had 4 years with a new group of people, a reinforced, more fortified group of people with a more focused agenda, gave them 4 years to develop the whole plan that they have. And they came out of the gate after having him reelected with their pedal to the metal, full open throttle, and they haven't stopped. They have 4 years at least to enact what they want to enact and change the entire world. But I'm not so sure. Like, you could argue that peace is their objective, global peace, because of what I said. Then the major military nuclear powers, China, Russia, the United States, won't fight. They'll just respect each other's territories. But that's already falling apart, because you already see that these assaults on Venezuela and the boats, they're driving U.S. allies away. The UK, Canada, Denmark, others not sharing intelligence, all intelligence now with the United States, because the traditional U.S. allies, NATO countries, they no longer trust the United States because of Trump. Meanwhile, the alliance that he seems to be pushing toward, and certainly that Russia has been pushing toward with the United States through the Trump administration, is showing signs of stress and fracture because of what's going on in Ukraine. You can see it there. Because Russia won't back off. Trump is like not happy with Putin. And you're seeing China and Russia now line up behind Venezuela. And so this is not working. Trump is destabilizing everything, including the economy. Inflation is up. He says it's down, but it's up. He says unemployment overall is down, but it's actually up. You're seeing major layoffs in key sectors, including the auto industry, even in the United States, as he tries to bring more jobs in the auto industry to the country because the tariffs are hurting both Canada and the United States and Mexico. And the stock market took a bath last week. Crypto way down because of the government shutdown. Everything's disrupted. It's not going really that well. It's quite the opposite. There's so much uncertainty. Countries are pivoting away from the United States. This is a country that is in decline because of Donald Trump this time. I will say Trump 1.0 was different because there's no question that during the first Trump administration, the U.S. economy was beginning to take off in really robust ways. Less regulation, got government out of the way, cutting red tape, reducing government regulations on businesses, paved the way to more efficiency, more hiring. His policies were very helpful for the economy overall. He used some tariffs, but they were kind of minimal and didn't last. He negotiated the new USMCA at the time, the United States, Mexico, Canada Free Trade Agreement. Seemed to work pretty well. He said it was the best deal ever at the time. Then along comes Trump 2.0 and everything flipped upside down. Now the best trade deal ever is the worst trade deal ever. And he's the one who negotiated it. And instead of limited use of tariffs, it's across the board tariffs imposed on everybody, going to war with all of, well, pretty much the whole world using tariffs and sanctions, but not for economic purposes, always, often for political purposes. And the president of peace has now amassed this massive military force off the coast of Venezuela, and he's blowing up boats and undermining the U.S. reputation around the world as a country that can be trusted, even among U.S. allies. Nobody trusts the United States because of Trump. More to the point, they don't trust him. And because you've shown now that you can elect somebody like that to power, it's undermining long-term trust in the United States. It's damaged the relationships. I don't know how you restore that, especially when you're dealing with nuclear weapons and power beyond belief, military power. Trump just stood up last week and said that when they sell F-35s to other countries, they hold back about 20% of the technology so that other countries can't have it. This is why if you're spending that kind of money, billions of dollars, to purchase fighter jets, knowing, does it make any sense to purchase fighter jets from a country that threatens you economically in a way that potentially represents an existential threat to your country and could undermine your very sovereignty, to then purchase jets from that country that are only 80% as good as the same jet that they provide to themselves, because they hold back 20% of the technology from you, and no doubt they've got kill switches on every single one of them so that you can never, ever, ever use them against the United States. Make no mistake, that's exactly what's going on. So does it make any sense? You have to trust them so that there's unequivocally, for sure, ironclad, no question about it, you're absolutely always going to be friends and an ally. And that means working cooperatively, not beating your best friend up, or even a relative, a cousin. I'm going to beat the crap out of you. Going to take all your auto plants. Oh, by the way, you better buy our jets, and you better not do business with China, or else we'll come up there and show you what for. Meanwhile, they offer a $500 million slush fund to a bunch of separatists who are working to break up the country. You think the Canadian government's not taking note? Of course they are. But because you're next to Doug, so you can't talk about it. And I'm repeating myself, but it bears repeating because this is the biggest existential threat to Canada right now, more so than China, more so than any other country. Oh, and I know that the pro-MAGA people right now, their heads are blowing up because they're going to accuse me of being a communist for saying that. But it's true. It's 1,000% true. China, of course, has their own interests. China would love to be more involved with Canada. And yeah, China would no doubt love to get a foothold into Canada in a more substantial way, to have a greater presence right on the doorstep of the United States, its major trading adversary and its largest and most powerful military rival, as China continues to build its military up in unprecedented ways at a pace that is also historically unprecedented. That's the major threat to the United States. And yet, isn't it weird that Trump's policies keep pushing countries like Canada into the arms of China, while at the same time threatening in a very subtle way any country in this hemisphere that becomes too cozy with China? That's what happened down in Panama. They didn't want Chinese influence or control over the Panama Canal. So it was one of the first things that Trump did. It's one of the first things he dealt with when he came back into power. Control had to revert to an American company, get the Chinese out of there, and made it very clear that he was willing to use military force in order to make that happen. And so, by golly, that's exactly what happened. Because who wants to have a military conflict down in Panama? And make no mistake, he would have done it. Because it is a vital trade route. Without that canal, international shipping and U.S. interests, I mean, you have to go all the way, a long way around with your ships. That's why they built the canal. And he wanted to make sure that the United States would always have control of that. So that's what he did. All part of the larger plan. Do you trust the plan? Who wants to buy a bunch of F-35s? If you buy them, you can use them as long as you listen to the man in the White House.
Greetings, brave mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
You go back through history and you look at countries that over time need to increase their wealth, address issues of debt. And what do? There are a couple of avenues, a couple of paths forward for countries in this kind of situation. You can try to grow your way out of your debt, or you can go take what you need from other countries. Historically, the latter seems to be the path that is most often chosen. Whether you're looking at Rome or Napoleon or Nazi Germany. Right now, the United States is $38 trillion in debt. Trump says the rest of the world basically treats the United States poorly. Since World War II, you've had this relationship between the United States and its allies, where the United States takes the lead. They become the main nuclear power, but the UK and France and other countries also have nuclear capabilities. But it's the United States, really, that underpins everything, because there has to be this trust and belief that if one NATO country, one Western country is attacked, the United States will be there to back them up. That trust has been undermined. Why? Because the United States is $38 trillion in debt. And other countries, in Trump's view, have not been spending enough money on military defense to defend themselves. Therefore, suggesting, in maybe not so subtle ways, that these other countries don't even deserve to exist as countries. That goes to the heart of what I've been talking about. Is Canada a real country if it can't defend itself? Well, as a smaller country, you could argue maybe not. That is why, though, smaller countries, economically and militarily, like Canada, who have taken a more passive secondary role to the United States, that is why we've always worked with other countries multilaterally to come up with foreign policy and defense policies that work for us, because we can't become too powerful lest we threaten the United States. You go back and look at the Avro Arrow and the development of that jet. Many people believe that the main reason that we didn't fully develop and produce the Avro Arrow jet at the time was because the United States didn't want us to have it. It was cutting edge technology. It would have presented something of a threat to the military industrial complex in the United States. Today, we're facing a similar kind of situation, but Trump is, again, creating this juxtaposition, this weird reality where, on one hand, he wants everybody to spend more on defense, but there are limits to what you can do, how much you can spend, especially in the case of Canada. So he's saying, yeah, we want Canada to spend like 5% of GDP. But better buy the F-35. Although, see, Canada could buy the Gripen. 10,000 jobs would come with the Gripen production, which would happen inside Canada. But where would that really leave Canada with regard to its relationship with the United States? It then depends on Canada's, well, I guess the United States' relationship with NATO. And Trump's not a great fan of NATO, I don't think. A lot of people within the MAGA movement, certainly not. So if the long-term relationship between NATO and the United States sours, Canada's building Gripens and is a key NATO player and is building up its... See, this becomes maybe a threat. Can't do too much trade with China because that's an adversary of the United States. Canada's in a pretty tough spot. So are we really a sovereign nation if we can't pivot and have our own foreign policy independent of the United States? Well, this is where we're at. This is what complicates things. This is why the pro-51st staters, whether consciously or unconsciously, because I don't think a lot of them have really thought it through to this level, but this is one of the key issues in play. And there's a price to be paid for sovereignty, but there are also rewards in the long run. Self-determination. The United States goes to war. If you're an independent sovereign nation, you don't necessarily have to follow. And we haven't always, which also shows that we can stand up and we can stand on our own 2 feet, even if we're not a peer power militarily to the United States. But collectively, on a multilateral basis, working with other nation states, working with the United Kingdom, with Britain, and we're still tied to the monarchy. So it's key. It's a key component to the whole damn thing. See, right now, Trump does anything to Canada. He's also got to answer to the king, to the UK, to Europe. You ever wonder why there's such a strong anti-monarchy movement in Canada? You ever wonder? I always did. Never really clued in, because I always thought of the United States as being just unconditionally an ally, a friend, a relative of Canada, that all those previous wars, the War of 1812, all those previous historical frictions between our two countries had been long resolved. We're so close. Nope. Some people in the United States still today have weird shit in their head, if you excuse the foul language. To me, it's bizarre. To them, it makes sense that still there's this threat. They still want to fight the War of 1812 all over again. They'll refer to it as Canada needs a 1776 moment, when in reality what they're doing is rekindling the battles of the War of 1812. Where Canada as a nation, that's really that's the conflict that ultimately defined and created what became Canada. They want to revisit that. Scares me. And they still cling to that as forcefully, as aggressively as a lot of people in the United States still believe and want and are trying to will the reemergence or the American Civil War again. The South will rise again. There are people who want it. You're seeing it in the streets. It isn't just a culture war. It's a historical war. It's a war that never really went away, was never really completely resolved. There's still a lot of bitterness, even from the Civil freaking War in the U.S. And there's still, on the U.S. side, strangely, I'm becoming aware of it, this rekindled or maybe still smoldering resentment toward Canada because of the War of 1812, and if not a resentment, then just a sense that they can use this as an opportunity, just by focusing on that again, to destabilize things and enact the plan to make it all happen. Here on the Canadian side, people laugh. They're like, War of 1812, yeah, we'll burn your White House down again. And we laugh. Down there, some people take it serious. And some people here are taking it seriously now, too. And they want to rise up. It sounds crazy because it is. It's completely unnecessary. This is the way it's playing out. And it ties into this international war on liberalism. And these are the predicates for what could lead to a freaking civil war. Not just in the United States, but in Canada too. Both. Maybe even a joint civil war. I don't really know where they want. I do. I know where they want to go. But it starts in here. Trump's playing this mind game with people. You ever notice, somebody said to me, how do we show people that this is all being played out in movies? Because it is. You're not crazy if you're seeing these scenarios play out in movies. I don't know whether the movies come first and then the event, or if they plan the event and then make them. I don't know which order it's happening in, but they're doing it. And it's all part of the information warfare. It's becoming very clear to me, because it isn't just social media. It's like they're using cinema in order to condition people and get people used to these ideas, to reframe your reality, to make you think of things in a particular way. Since the beginning of the motion picture, governments have used motion pictures, film, cinema, Hollywood, to shape your mind, to build a consensus, manufacture consent for what they want to do, to make you believe in things. Whether it's the old World War II propaganda films, which were just blatant, exercises in patriotism, fair enough. Or whether it's more subtle use of movies like Top Gun in modern eras. That's one of the more blatant ones. But Top Gun, like, you look at that, that's an exercise in building patriotism, an exercise in recruitment for the military. And if you look at it, yeah, I think that there is actually an argument to be made that they were engaged in predictive programming to show what was going to happen during the strikes in Iran. It's true. You can see it. Because they planned it all out in advance. Or they watched the movie and then they made the event match what happened in the film, or a little of both. It's like art, right? Does art imitate life, or does life react to art? I believe that it's a little bit of both, that art reflects what society is, but it also influences it. So it's back and forth. But when you're in government and you have this amount of power, enough power to, with the stroke of a Sharpie, reframe people's, reality, so that they stop calling an entire body of water, an international body of water, the Gulf of Mexico, and they start calling it the Gulf of America, and they just say, yep, it's ours. Gulf of America now. Because he just did that. No debate. Like, you just heard him talk about it. Can I do that? Yes, sir. You just give us the order. We'll make it so. Only if you accept it. To me, it's the Gulf of Mexico. Because of that. Because I don't want to get sucked down into Donald Trump's rabbit hole. I don't want to buy into his reality, because he lies about things. And if you accept his lies, if you then believe that the United States has 92%, controls 92% of the coastline, what does that mean? Well, maybe it becomes the reality where the United States controls 92% of the coastline, because maybe he takes over Mexico. And then it will be 92% of the coastline. And he leaves Cuba alone because he doesn't want another Cuban Missile Crisis. Ever think of it that way? I do now. Wish I didn't. I wish I was a normie again. But sitting in this chair, watching the man in the Oval Office do his thing day after day, he's making it hard. Really, really hard. Because if you pay attention too long, he'll drive you crazy. Except crazy is the new sane. God help us all. I'm going to come back tomorrow. It's supposed to be part of a team broadcast with Phil Primo and Jason LaFauci. And they've invited me to participate in an interview with Dave Belinsky of Universal Ostrich Farm. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. That ought to be interesting. I'm not exactly sure why we're doing it. I do know why. It's because we're honestly, well, I know why I'm doing it, because I really want the truth about what went on at that weird farm. So I'm sure it will be a productive and respectful conversation. I'm looking forward to doing that. And I hope that everybody involved comes ready to act in good faith, armed with facts, solid arguments, like real arguments, and goodwill. Going to be one hell of a broadcast. I know that. I will see you back here tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern. I believe 7. If there's a change, look in the look on the Rumble channel. I'll try to get the post up early so you can see what time it's going to start, but it should be 7 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you then for what proves to be an epic broadcast on the ostrich issue. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern on The Flip Side.
Biden's about, Charlie's alive. Elvis flips burgers on the Lower East Side. 10 Trumps mask up on your phone. Shilling mean coins by remote drone. Graphene needles in your veins. Chemtrail sugar fries your brain. George Floyd's American hologram pie. Don't trust your lying eyes. It's all fake. It's all fake. The moon is a hoax. Give your head a shake. It's all fake. It's all fake. Your mama's a lizard. Your daddy's a snake. Bigfoot codes, the Mossad plan. Flat Earth truckers fighting the man. Dinosaurs guard an empty fed vault. Truth is dead and it's the media's fault. Conspiracies are real, let it sink in. Time travel, JFK is president again. 9/11's a VR game. The elite cut deals in the devil's name. It's all fake. It's all fake.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.